all of us would agree, and we have somebody from the academia sitting here, and we are being hosted by the academia. Industry-academia collaboration does not exist in India, I'm sorry to say. In the US, which is the hotbed of innovation, academia drives industry. Here, it's industry driving academia, I'm sorry to say. So academia has to come forward and vice versa, that boss, if I have to problem solve, can I go to an XLRI, can I go to an IIM Ahmedabad, can I go to BITS Pilani or a Roorkee and build something? And
the other thing also is India does not have,
correct, so was I saying.
Indian culture does not have a research appetite also.
Yeah, which is R&D, right? Which is
it's not happening, that research appetite is completely missing. I mean, you look at Indians doing so well in research outside of India, but if they were to do something similar in India, the idea would be struck down.
I would say it's a question of affordability. I mean, let's say example of what Nitin spoke at Adani. And the whole business was created.
Balance sheets can afford to do that?
Absolutely. So today, for example, an Adani can say, okay, you want to take 500 crore, do this. Right? How many such organization can do that kind of a thing? Agreed. Number one. Number two, when you look at why is, let's say, Western countries are so, that's where a lot of innovation happens. I would say it's only because of funding. Most of the research, whether we spoke about research or PhD or innovation, these are all coming in because of the funding. Right? Today, when you look at an organization in India, 1,000, 2,000 crore organization, how much money can he put in? So, if the money is lesser, right, and that's where if it's not moving in the right direction, that's when the pressure starts to come into fit in. That's when they say, oh, okay, there's too much risk which has happened. So, if there is a funding available, whether from a fund point of view, a government regulation point of view, and then you see the kind of innovation which will happen. Indians by nature are very entrepreneur, right? You look at the startups which are happening. Every startup is looking at something or the other problem solving, right? The entire quick service, 10 minutes delivery. Where does it ever happen across outside India? You go and live in a US or you live any country, you cannot order what products we order, which is home delivered in 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Absolutely unthinkable, right? So that's an innovation which has come from India, and it's coming because there are PE funds which actually have invested in that model. Maybe it may succeed, probably it will not succeed, but the innovation is there.
Good point. So service innovation, product innovation. I think service innovation, Indians inherently are good at service, right? Because there's a process, doing things differently. There is jugaad. I'll come back to the same cliche of jugaad, let's fix it. Let's fix it differently, to innovation ho gaya. But when we are talking innovation, probably in the classical sense, it's also more often than not product innovation. Product innovation, you're absolutely right, requires the long haul, requires patience capital, right? And which is where people with stronger balance sheets can afford to get into, product innovation at scale. And also, if you have to breed a culture of innovation, it is socio-economic and cultural, all three, plus industry-academia collaboration.
So I'll build on to my partner in crime's point. So look at Amazon. We don't have our own Amazon. We don't have our own Gmail. We don't have our own Facebook. We don't have our own Twitter, right? When the coup shut down, we all celebrated rather than supported. So because we don't invest, we copy paste and tweak. India has very less original ideas at scale, and that is because we celebrate failures and saying, boss, acha hua ho gaya.
To that point, Subhrangshu's point, I think those could be the labs. That is where the B schools will have to come in to become the labs where sustainable ideas can be funded, and you don't need big corporates to fund. There are like-minded people who really want to make sure that these things, and if there are brilliant ideas and you have them in open saying this is an idea, this is the lab, this is an incubation lab where there are 5 ideas needed to be funded, and a B school is behind it, you will get fund. I mean, we do so much of crowdfunding all over the place. India has such a vast people who are abroad, in people like us in the industry. If we see some great ideas being incubated in a guarded environment, when we know this B school is backing it up and has so
give you an example, Sandeep, look at all of us. We use Lycra in our clothes. DuPont started Lycra. History of experimentation and R&D. Why can't India do a Lycra equivalent? So I'm, in a personal example, I'm an investor in a sustainable fashion brand started by a friend. We are using Himalayan grass. And we made the first jacket in India out of Himalayan grass. We have access to Himalayas. Why can't we use Himalayan grass at scale and create another Lycra out of India?
And make it affordable.
And make it affordable, right? Sustainable, affordable, all of that. Today, H&M, Zara, blah, 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 they are all the biggest polluters in the world, right? India has access to all the natural resources. India has Himalayan grass. Why can't we do that? Maybe because, again, it is not sustainable. Because we don't have the balance sheet. As a small business, you can't do it at scale.
Subhrangshu, again, look at it from where China differs from us. Design. We have never invested into design principles, right? We don't have, neither we have product design, we don't have any other design skills. We're starting off, there are a couple of schools who are starting to, but basic design, we don't have.
See, that's what I'm saying. It is the next 50 years, if you have to, this country has to become a hotbed of product innovation, not service innovation, or innovation at scale, rather than doing things differently, doing different things completely.
The things. One, product innovation, the other is manufacturing scale.
Correct. R&D, manufacturing.
Because only then will you create wealth, right? So you need to create manufacturing at scale, IPs, patents, design, and then make it happen in a big scale, which I think to some extent IP debatable, but they still.
So it's happening. So I think, see, it requires patronage from the government, number one. Number two, socio-economic, cultural change at large, at scale, from your education system, K-12, college, PG, industry, incubation centers. So today, I don't know if you guys know, CSR is a mandatory spend for profitable organizations. There is something in the Schedule 7, I think, which says that you can invest in tech incubators. How many corporates are investing and backing up tech incubators? Education kar do ji, healthcare kar do, which is nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. But why can't you consciously, as a corporate, which you are entitled to do, go and back tech incubators? More often than not, these investments, are tick in the boxes. Kya karna hai? CSR spend karna hai? Kar do. Right? So I'm saying there's a lot of sovereign fund, there is a lot of private funding and individual funding which can go behind that.
So let me take a liberty. Do you guys have fund, VC fund, college fund? If a good student who's maybe watching this, having a great idea, will you put $10 million on him? You don't have it, right?
But we have a program that is running, that is entrepreneurship.
That's a seed versus fund, right?
Yeah.
So not a seed. Seed, after the seed, what will you, because for innovation, you need the backing. You need people, you need technology.
Correct. And as you have just rightly mentioned, because we celebrate the success, and 9 out of 10, innovative efforts, they maybe fail, right? May end up in failure.
But we have
And once
that we celebrate success, once you win a medal by whatever sacrifice you make in the family or whatever, we start paying you crores, but you have to win a medal. But we don't see that those who are not able to, what is the learning there? So similarly, I think wherever we have failed, I think we should look into what is the
we
learning.
have to celebrate the failure, right? Because we have a lot of learning that is involved in that.
Yeah.
In US, it is.
I think the biggest innovation, which is what Nitin said. XLRI is such a prestigious brand, right? I'm sure there are funds who will actually be incubator for your students. Yeah. If all of us, and if that gets implemented, I think we've done a great job. And then these are, I think, 240 students passing out every year from one campus, right? So if that happens, I think the entire ecosystem is getting generated.
I also believe that corporates still have this feeling of we are much degree conscious. Yeah, while innovators may not have degrees. Correct. And there, I think we have this. I don't know why this kind of feeling. When we go for campus hiring, we will just say class 10 में 70% है, 12 में 70% है. So what are we looking for? Are we even giving that leeway of failure
bang
to the
on,
student?
which brings to my point that it has to be it's an existential question you need to answer and a structural question in our education system.
So I'll give again my personal example. I'm a Hindi medium school pass out, 43%. I've worked with best of the best Indian brands, whether it's InfoEdge or Bharti Airtel, or whether it was Yatra or Indigo or now Adani. So that change is coming. You need to then cover up that education with something else, maybe, But I agree with you to maximum extent that as a society, when we go and leaders, we judge students by marks and not by the merit.
I think, and see, it has to be industry, academia, close collaboration. We've been talking about this. I was fortunate also to be part of an education venture as the head of their India business, which was my last corporate avatar, where we used to talk about industry, academia almost 7-8 years back. And I've been hearing this for the last 15 years. Okay. And I'm sure a lot of people are talking and doing things, but little is there to actually, show that there's proof of the pudding. Okay, so I think that industry academia thing has to really, I'm not saying things haven't changed. Last 8-10 years things have changed, but definitely that is the starting point. As I said, US academia leads, industry follows, right? They are the talent absorbers. Here, it's industry leads and the academia follows. I think it should be the other way around. Nobody's fault. And I think that's how the vicious cycle should start operating.
So if you look at the ISBs and IIMs alumni group, the VC deals by their own students getting funded very fast, right? But we can't create a segregated silo environment. We need to create this environment in a much larger space with the funding at a right time. What you were saying, that money is not a problem, but the timing. So we need to put the money at a right time. So at a seed idea, at ideation and a validation stage, the person should have, the group of talented folks should have more access to the money. If we solve that,
I think taking it back to the students, right? So all of this that we are talking about is government, corporates, industry, academia, etc. But one thing is very clearly coming out, that things are in that direction, and more and more of the ability or the competence of critical thinking, problem solving, thinking out of the box is becoming even more important, right? In the age of AI and Gen AI, where knowledge is no more important, everything is in the touch of a button. So from a student's perspective, they need to make sure that they are ready when we get to a place saying, yeah, you have an idea and here's $1 million sitting for you, right? So I think that, again, to your point, how do we bring that in from a K to 12 and then college and then PG perspective?
I'll give an example. I don't know how many of you read the Economic Times either today or yesterday, I'm forgetting. But fundamentally, B2B SaaS companies build in India and sell to the world. Correct. Why? Exactly. Because उनको पता है कि भाई idea stage पे, if I take it to, let's say, the US, the VCs and the investors are sophisticated enough to take a bet on my business and fund. So cycles, fundraising cycles are way shorter. What I can do in 6 months, I'll take probably 6 years to do in India. So which means even on the supply side of the funding or the capital, I dare say, I'm sorry, I'm going on public here on the record, but maybe investors and VCs are not sophisticated enough to understand AI models at scale. कि हाँ यार सोचते हैं, देखते हैं, let's take a bet, But you go to the US, maybe it's PPP, I don't know, but fundamentally what takes you 6 months there will take 6 years here.
I would actually build on what he spoke about. He spoke about the fact that there is an idea, money has come in, but they need to learn how to execute. I mean, the best example would be Byju's. Look at the brand, look at the idea, it built, it reached to a certain level. After that, where is it? Absolutely gone from. I think Jugaad has become, the Jugaad has very negative connotation. I think we should rebrand it, probably call it a frugal engineering. Or whatever, right? Engineering. Otherwise, they're looking at, every said Jugaad is like very negative.
It's absolutely good. Positive. Very positive.
Yeah, I think it's more frugal and we are innovating.
Absolutely. Sorry, I'm taking the lead here, but I think it cannot be only organizations. I will go back. I know it sounds very theoretical. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So you have to think the next 50 years, okay? And let's say the government, okay? It all starts from governance, right? So the government is talking Viksit Bharat, government is talking about various things, which is great. They're taking all the right, steps in the right direction. That becomes, let's say, the North Star, okay? Then there are different components to it. There is academia, there is industry, there is cultural, chords in a country. All of that, when it kicks in, why do you think China, for instance, has become a hotbed of excellence when it comes to production at scale or quality, or execution? That's how they have built their entire ecosystem. So it's an ecosystem at work, as opposed to just corporates doing something, academia doing something, government doing something in isolated silos.